This lesson will look at the differences between European Union funds, funding programs, grant procedures, and projects. Let's start at the highest level, the European Union funds. A fund is the source of financing through which the European Union implements specific policies, such as cohesion policy or the European Green Deal. In other words, a fund is the reservoir of money from which different programs are then financed. EU funds include the European Regional Development Fund, the European Social Fund Plus, the Cohesion Fund, the Just Transition Fund, and others. Each of them has its own purpose and focus, but what they all have in common is that they mobilize the resources used to finance EU programs. The next level is the program. A program is a strategic plan through which the European Union or its member states decide exactly how to use the resources from one or more funds. A program describes which objectives will be achieved, which priorities will be financed, what the overall budget is, and under what rules the money will be allocated. It sets the framework by defining the thematic areas, target groups, types of beneficiaries, types of activities, and the countries or regions that will be supported. In order for a program to actually start funding projects, procedures or calls for proposals are launched. A procedure supports the implementation of specific program priorities and funds multiple projects. The combined results of these projects contribute to achieving the objectives of the program priority under which the procedure has been launched. A procedure is the specific call through which the applicant organization submit its project proposal. It sets out who can apply, which activities are eligible for funding, the total budget of the procedure, the deadlines for submitting proposals, and the evaluation criteria. It also specifies all formal requirements, required documents, application forms, minimum and maximum budgets, and whether partners from other countries are needed. At the final level, we reach to the project. A project is the specific initiative that the applicant organization proposed for funding under a particular call within a given program. A project has a clearly defined objective, specific activities to be implemented, expected results and indicators, a defined implementation period, and a detailed budget. It is implemented by one or more beneficiaries, such as public bodies, schools, universities, nonprofit organizations, or companies. The key point is that each individual project must clearly contribute to achieving the program's objectives and must fit the logic and requirements of the specific call. A project idea that is not aligned with the program usually does not receive funding. Now let's trace how the application process works. First, you need to find a suitable call. This means monitoring funding opportunities and choosing a procedure that matches your idea, your organization's mission, and the needs of the target groups you work with. The applicant must check the eligibility criteria. This is where you make sure your organization is an eligible applicant, that the activities you plan are allowed, and that the region and target groups fall within the scope of the procedure. It is also important to check whether your organization has the necessary technical and financial capacity to implement the project. The next step is to register your organization in the relevant electronic system. Usually, the applicant creates a profile, enters organization's details, and often uploads documents proving its legal status. Next comes drafting the project proposal. This includes completing the application form, which is usually divided into several sections. In the narrative section, the applicants describe the context and the problem they want to address, present the project objectives, the target groups, the planned activities, and the methodology. Then the applicant specifies the expected results and the indicators through which progress will be measured, describe the team and partners, management, communication activities, sustainability, and the multiplication of results. In another part of the form, the applicant completes the budget, setting out the costs by budget lines and activities, the payment periods, and, if required, the amount of co-financing. It is very important that the figures and the narrative part are logically connected. What you propose as activities must be realistic in relation to the budget and the implementation timeframe. The next step is the actual submission of the project proposal through the platform before the deadline. This may seem obvious, but this is where one of the most common fatal mistakes happens, submitting the project at the very last minute. Systems can sometimes become overloaded, technical issues may occur, or a required file may be missing. That is why it is wise to prepare the proposal in good time and carry out a final check a few days before the deadline. Thank you for watching this video.